Renegade Immortal Episode 133. Wang Lin departed from the demon spirit land, stepping into the swirling vortex that served as the gateway to the Luo Tian star system. As his figure vanished into the portal, the atmosphere among the old monsters remaining in the demon spirit land turned grim. Their collective gazes locked onto the blood ancestor, who felt as though he were sitting on pins and needles under their heavy scrutiny. After a moment of weighted silence, the blood ancestor finally spoke. And quote, "Indeed, the fourth void axe has been taken by Wang Lin. He holds the token. If we destroy him, we will have no foundation to enter the cave mansion again." End quote. He paused, glancing at the shimmering exit. End quote. This vortex leads to the Luo Tian star system. We tried to enter back then but failed. However, if we join forces, we can send one person there to capture Wang Lin. End quote. The All-Seer asked in a deep, resonant voice. End quote. Who should go? End quote. The blood ancestor had already calculated this move. He spoke with confidence. End quote. The best candidate is Greed. If each of us leaves a restriction on him, there is no way he can escape. Furthermore, his cultivation is sufficient to deal with Wang Lin. End quote. To the side, Tian Yunzi watched the vortex in silence, a strange light flashing within his eyes. No one could pry into his thoughts or discern what he was planning. Under the brilliant, cold starlight, the Luo Tian star system stretched out, vast and boundless, dotted with countless cultivation planets. It was a realm starkly different from the Alliance star system. Here, most cultivators were aware that the four immortal realms, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, each governed a specific portion of the system. In Luo Tian, there were no sects. Instead, cultivation families reigned supreme, with bloodlines serving as the core that united their power. In the Alliance star system, under the long-standing deception of the Cultivation Alliance, the vast majority of cultivators, including Wang Lin himself, had believed that only the Cultivation Alliance existed beneath the stars. For streaks of light galloped through the dark starry sky. Within them were 4 cultivators, 3 men and 1 woman. All had reached the soul transformation stage. The woman, Ran Yu, was at the mid-stage, while the others, Ran Qin, Ran Feng, and Sun Xueshan, were all at the early stage. Ran Yu appeared to be in her 20s, possessing a cold beauty that nonetheless hid the refined gentleness of a lady from a great family. The 3 male cultivators were handsome, but their expressions were currently grim, their heads frequently snapping back to look behind them. End quote. "Just throw the crimson brilliance stone away." End quote. Sun Xueshan shouted urgently. End quote. "Otherwise, the nether mist insects will never stop chasing us." End quote. Ran Yu responded softly even as she maintained her flight. End quote. "Nether mist insects hold grudges. Even if we throw the stone, they will continue to pursue us." End quote. Behind the 4, a massive cloud of gray mist surged forward like a tidal wave. Hidden within that haze were countless finger-sized nether mist insects. It was the very mist they emitted that formed this suffocating haze. All 4 cultivators had star compasses beneath their feet, and though their speed was not slow, they would have been overtaken long ago if not for Ran Yu. She frequently waved her sleeves, scattering golden light to form a protective barrier. Despite her efforts, Ran Yu's expression grew increasingly weary. The mist behind them drew closer and closer, finally surging over them and surrounding the group entirely. From a distance, only a patch of gray mist remained in the void. Not a single figure could be seen. These 4 hailed from planet Ranyun in the Luo Tian star system. During their current trial, they had accidentally obtained a crimson brilliant stone, which had attracted the relentless pursuit of the nether mist insects for several days. The mist emitted by these insects was extremely toxic. Touching it caused immediate injury, and it possessed the power to erode a cultivator and Oppo's origin soul. If not for the jade bracelet in Ran Yu's hand, which emitted a faint lightning glow to shield the 4, they would have been swallowed by the mist long ago, their origin souls dissipated into nothingness. Ran Qin, Ran Feng, and Sun Xueshan all unleashed their divine abilities, sending out magical treasures in a desperate attempt to break through. But the mist was too thick. They simply could not break free. As time passed, their immortal energy was nearly exhausted, and their supply of medicinal pills was almost gone. Ran Yu's brows furrowed. She spoke softly to comfort her companions and, quote, "Nether mist insects fear lightning spells most. I have already sent a distress signal to the family. This place is still some distance from the family, but if we hold on for a bit longer, we will surely be rescued by a senior skilled in lightning abilities." End quote. In truth, her own immortal energy was depleting the fastest, as the majority of it was being absorbed by the jade bracelet. Once the bracelet failed, the four would instantly fall into a desperate situation. Sun Xueshan gave a bitter smile. Looking at the dense swarm of insects within the mist, despair welled up in his heart. And quote, "It's all my greed," and quote, he lamented. And quote, "If I had and oppos, T pried out that crimson brilliant stone, we would and oppos, T be in this mess," end quote. Just then, outside the mist, a streak of fluorescent light whistled past. The light was shaped like a dragon, and upon it sat a young man dressed in white. It was Wang Lin. After merging into the vortex, the experience had been akin to entering a massive teleportation array. When he reappeared, he found himself in an unfamiliar starry sky surrounded by brilliant nebulae, with not a soul in sight. Carrying a hint of confusion, Wang Lin took out his star compass and began to travel slowly through the unknown Luo Tian star system. The gray mist in the distance soon caught his attention. The light beneath Wang Lin's feet flashed, and he arrived before the mist in an instant. Lightning flickered within his eyes as he saw through the strange haze with a single glance, spotting the four trapped people inside. Under his piercing gaze, the nether mist insects actually trembled and retreated, forming a hollow void within the mist. The four trapped people were stunned. Ran Yu's eyes flashed, secretly shocked. To make the nether mist insects retreat with just a glance, such a divine ability is not something an ordinary cultivator can possess. She looked up and saw Wang Lin standing upon the fluorescent light outside the mist. The despair in Sun Xueshan's eyes vanished instantly. He immediately cupped his fists and shouted, and quote, "Senior, I am a member of the Sun family from planet Renyun. I hope Senior will lend a hand to save us. I will surely reward you handsomely," end quote. Ran Qin and Ran Feng also looked delighted, hastily cupping their fists with respect as they sincerely pleaded for Wang Lin to act. Ran Yu looked at the white-clad youth, her brows relaxing slightly. She said softly, and quote, "Senior, I am a member of the Ran family from planet Renyun. We are trapped by the nether mist insects. If Senior helps us, the Ran family will surely reward you generously," end quote. Wang Lin's expression remained indifferent. He swept his gaze over the four and then looked away. The mist instantly surged back, swallowing the void area. Several cries of alarm erupted from within the haze. The four's faces changed drastically. Sun Xueshan hurriedly shouted, and quote, "Senior, we have a crimson brilliant stone. If Senior saves us, we will offer the stone as our first thanks," end quote. Wang Lin did not know what a crimson brilliant stone was, so he was naturally unmoved by the offer. He looked at the mist, thinking to himself. The Luo Tian star system was too unfamiliar. He had to understand the situation here as soon as possible before he could go to the Xiong family the woman had mentioned. The four inside the mist could not see the outside. Except for Ran Yu, who remained somewhat calm, the other three were overcome with nervousness and anxiety, feeling deeply uneasy. The pills in Ran Yu's storage bag were almost gone. She knew she would not last much longer. If they could not wait for the family's rescue, the consequences would be dire. She gritted her teeth and was about to say something more when Wang Lin's voice entered the mist. And quote, "Where is planet Renyun?" end quote. The four were startled, and Sun Xueshan quickly responded, and quote, "About 7 days from here. The star path is due north. If Senior wishes to go, we are willing to lead the way for you to repay your life-saving grace," end quote. Wang Lin sat on the fluorescent light, his eyes flashing. He raised his right hand and pointed into the void. A bolt of lightning instantly surged from his origin soul, flicking out from his fingertip. When he had dispersed the mist with his gaze earlier, he had already guessed that the nether mist insects feared lightning abilities. With this single finger, a bolt of lightning flew out. Accompanied by the rumbling of thunder, it transformed into a thunder dragon. Carrying endless pressure, it charged into the mist. The nether mist insects immediately let out shrill cries and retreated. At the same time, they spat out large amounts of mist to attack the lightning. Ordinary lightning meeting this toxic mist would surely have weakened, but Wang Lin's lightning was not an ordinary spell. It was an instinct of his origin soul after it had merged with the ancient thunder dragon. It was true heavenly thunder. The thunder rumbled, and the mist instantly dissipated. As the lightning flickered, large swarms of nether mist insects shrank back, fleeing in dense numbers. To the insects who already feared lightning, the true thunderous power contained in this bolt was like a natural enemy. They retreated extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, all the nether mist insects had fled to a very distant place. Ranyu and the others took the chance to turn into 4 streaks of light and fly to Wang Lin's side. All 4 felt the relief of surviving a disaster, but more than that, they were deeply shaken. Sun Xueshan's gaze toward Wang Lin was full of shock. As a person of the Luo Tian star system, though he was not skilled in lightning abilities, he knew the connection between Luo Tian and the Thunder Immortal realm. Lightning abilities were the most powerful spells here. And the trace of true thunderous power within Wang Lin's lightning was something even his family elders and ancestors could not perform. Ranyu, Ranqin, and Ranfeng were equally shocked. Especially Ranyu, who gasped in cold air. Her gaze toward Wang Lin suddenly brightened. Her cultivation had reached the mid-stage of soul transformation, and her status in the family was not low. She was privy to certain secret matters. Combining that knowledge with the power of the lightning she had just witnessed, she took a deep breath and asked respectfully and softly, and quote, "I am a 9th-generation member of the Ran family. Is Senior a Thunder Immortal messenger?" End quote. As soon as she said this, Sun Xueshan's face changed drastically. He thought to himself, that's right. This person must be a Thunder Immortal messenger. But why does he want to go to planet Ranyun? Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. He swept his gaze over the 4 indifferently, neither admitting nor denying the claim. Though Ranyu was shocked, she quickly regained her composure. Seeing that Wang Lin did not speak, she became even more puzzled. The spells of the person before her were similar to those of a Thunder Immortal messenger, but their status was transcendent. She did not dare to make a hasty conclusion. What surprised Ranyu even more was that she could not see through Wang Lin's cultivation. This made her even more hesitant about his true identity. But Sun Xueshan and the others, especially Sun Xueshan, were already incredibly respectful toward Wang Lin, even showing a hint of fanaticism. After hearing Ranyu's words, he was even more convinced that Wang Lin was a Thunder Immortal messenger. And quote, "Senior is going to planet Ranyun? I am willing to lead the way for you," end quote, Sun Xueshan said respectfully. Wang Lin nodded. Sitting atop the silver dragon, he began to fly toward the north. Sun Xueshan quickly followed, with Ranyu and the others close behind. After flying for a while, Wang Lin's brows furrowed slightly. The speed of the 4 was too slow. At this rate, it would indeed take 7 days. He pondered for a moment and slowed his star compass to stay in sync with them. In this unfamiliar Luo Tian star system, he did not need to rush. He could take this opportunity to learn about the situation here, which would be convenient for his future actions. And quote, "Are there other cultivation planets near planet Ranyun?" End quote, Wang Lin asked calmly. Sun Xueshan had been secretly eyeing the silver dragon-shaped star compass beneath Wang Lin's feet, his eyes full of envy. Hearing the question, he quickly responded, and quote, "Yes. Planet Ranyun belongs to planet Qianhuan, one of the 5 main planets of the northern region. There are many other subordinate planets nearby," end quote. He wondered briefly why Wang Lin did not know this, But then he thought of how many cultivation planets existed in Luo Tian and felt relieved. Wang Lin's expression remained normal, but his heart stirred. Planet Qianhuan. Thousand Illusion Ruthless Path. He thought of the vermilion bird disciple from back then, Lu Mei. This was the path he cultivated. Wang Lin pondered silently, considering the nature of the North Jade. It should just be a coincidence. After all, they were two different star jades. From the looks of it, the Luo Tian star field was divided into 4 distinct regions: east, west, south, and north. He concluded that he must currently be within the North Jade. Based solely on the words of Sun Xueshan, Wang Lin gained a vague, foundational understanding of the Luo Tian star field. Ranyu, who was standing beside him, asked softly, and quote, "Senior, you saved us, but we do not yet know your name," and quote. Sumu, and quote. Wang Lin responded indifferently. He was certain that the All-Seer and the others would eventually catch up to his trail, so he chose to conceal his true name, adopting the surname Su as a precaution. Upon hearing the name, Ranyu's eyelids twitched imperceptibly. Her mind was shaken, and she quickly lowered her head, her curiosity regarding Wang Lin's identity growing even more intense. The surname Su was a prominent and prestigious one in the North Jade, belonging to an extremely powerful family. She wondered if this man could be a member of that clan. She had already entertained many guesses about his identity, but hearing the name Su now sent her thoughts racing. When Sun Xueshan heard the name Su Mu, his pupils constricted sharply. He became even more respectful toward Wang Lin than before. Ranyu composed herself, raised her head, and asked, and quote, "I wonder where Senior Su hails from," and quote. As soon as the words left her mouth, she regretted them. As a junior, asking such a question was far too presumptuous and could easily cause offense to a powerful cultivator. She quickly added, and quote, "Please do not take offense, Senior. It was my mistake," and quote. Wang Lin gave Ranyu a calm, measuring look. This woman was clever and gentle. She was clearly the leader of the 4. And quote, "Do you know of Planet Donglin?" and quote, Wang Lin asked, withdrawing his gaze. His tone was level and entirely devoid of emotion. And quote, "Donglin," and quote, Sun Xueshan's expression changed drastically. The look he gave Wang Lin shifted instantly from shock to pure terror. He subconsciously took several steps back, his face turning deathly pale. He was not the only one. Ran Qin and Ran Feng also turned white, their eyes filled with horror. Even Ranyu gasped in a breath of cold air. All her previous theories and guesses about Wang Lin's origins vanished in an instant. The reaction of these 4 was completely inconsistent with their soul transformation cultivation. The soul transformation cultivators Wang Lin had met in the past, while perhaps not as cunning as those at the ascendant stage, were all deep, calculating individuals who were not easily shaken. Yet, the 4 before him were clearly much more naive. Combining this observation with his initial understanding of the Luo Tian star field, Wang Lin thought to himself, asterisk in these cultivation forces based on families. Many clan members have likely rarely experienced bloody storms or life-and-death trials. No matter how high their cultivation, they cannot become true powerhouses of the heavens. Asterisk. He remained impassive and asked once more, and quote, "Do you know of Planet Donglin?" and quote. Ranyu's face grew even paler as she responded with deep respect. And quote, "Senior, Planet Donglin is the primary planet of the Luo Tian East Jade. It is also known as the Donglin Slaughter Planet. This planet is extremely eerie. It appears at times and vanishes at others." And quote. There was one thing she did not dare to say aloud. Every cultivator who hailed from Planet Donglin was incredibly ruthless. Once, a single Donglin cultivator had slaughtered every single family on an entire cultivation planet. In the Luo Tian star field, Planet Donglin was a terrifying nightmare to most people. After that exchange, Sun Xueshan did not dare to look at Wang Lin again, his heart filled with a lingering dread. He wondered what Senior Su's purpose was in traveling to Planet Ranan. This question grew stronger in the minds of Ranyu and the others as well. Their flight speed gradually slowed. They vaguely considered the idea of not taking Wang Lin to planet Ranyun at all. But despite their apprehension, they did not dare to refuse him. Along the way, whenever the four tried to quietly change their direction, they would meet Wang Lin's cold gaze and be forced to return to the correct path. Several days later, a water-blue planet appeared within the range of Wang Lin's divine sense. Oceans covered the majority of the planet, making it look extremely beautiful from a distance. Dense spiritual energy radiated from it, nourishing all things. From the expressions of his four guides, Wang Lin confirmed that this was indeed planet Ranyun. The spiritual energy of planet Ranyun far exceeded that of Wang Lin's home, planet Suzaku. Wang Lin stepped forward first. The star compass beneath his feet transformed into a dazzling silver light and charged directly into the atmosphere of planet Ranyun. Then, the silver light dissipated, and Wang Lin found himself standing beneath a clear blue sky. The spiritual energy rising from the sea below was even denser than he had anticipated. He took a deep breath, his body flickered, and he vanished without a trace. The four guides looked ashen. After returning to planet Ranyun, they immediately hurried to their respective families to report everything they had seen and heard, just in case of future trouble. At the same time, Wang Lin entered planet Ranyun, far away at the other end of the Luo Tian star field. Within the Alliance star field, a pitch-black streak of light whistled through the void. A terrifying aura erupted from within the light. Wherever it passed, the sound was like rolling thunder, and its momentum was staggering. Inside the light was an arrogant old man with a thin face full of ferocity. Surprisingly, as he flew through the starry sky, he did not use any magical treasures like a star compass. Each of his steps was like a teleportation. A woman accompanied the old man. She was exquisitely beautiful, with fiery red lips, slightly furrowed thin brows, and dark phoenix eyes. Her black hair was braided into 3 strands, and she wore a light-colored embroidered dress. She moved with elegant grace, carrying an air of innate charm. She was full of allure, not at all inferior to the Hong Dai of years past. The woman was not using her own speed. Rather, she was being pulled along by the old man's immortal power. Otherwise, even though she had reached the ascendant stage, she would not have been able to keep up with the old man's pace. The woman looked back at the starry sky behind them, a strange look flashing in her eyes, one of reminiscence and a sigh, but mostly complexity. And quote, "We're leaving," and quote, she sighed softly. And quote, "Mayor is still a bit reluctant," and quote. The old man glanced at the woman, a hint of kindness appearing in his eyes. And quote, "I grew up here. It's hard to leave," and quote, the woman said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear and nodding, her lips pursed. The old man laughed. And quote, "No need for reluctance. Once your cultivation is successful, you can just come back. Although I didn't find that treasure on this trip to the Alliance star field, taking you as my disciple makes it a fruitful journey," end quote. The woman nodded with a smile, but the complexity in her gaze as she looked back at the starry sky only deepened. The old man thought to himself about their history. When he had met this woman by chance hundreds of years ago, he discovered she was practicing the 1,000 illusion ruthless Tao, with signs of it evolving into the myriad illusion heavenly demon Tao. This had shocked him. The 1,000 illusion ruthless Tao was rare, and reaching the 1,000 illusion stage on one's own was even rarer. The potential for the myriad illusion heavenly demon Tao made him determined to take her as his disciple. As the great elder of the Huan family on planet Qianhuan, the main planet of the Luo Tian North Jade, he had seen countless juniors, but none could compare to this woman's talent. Even the few with outstanding talent lacked her potential. Thus, he had immediately decided to take her as his disciple. After spending hundreds of years together, he had grown even more protective of her. He had even abandoned his plan to find the heavenly pillars in the Alliance star field just to take her back to the Luo Tian star field. Back on planet Ranyun, Wang Lin hid in a secluded corner. Just as he steadied himself, 3 powerful divine senses swept over the area. The moment they descended, Wang Lin's figure flickered. His aura was completely withdrawn, and he vanished without a trace. Two of the divine senses seemed wary of each other. They did not communicate, and after sweeping the area once, they both withdrew. Only the third divine sense arrogantly swept across the entirety of planet Rannon. In the end, it found nothing, gave a cold snort, and left. That cold snort echoed across planet Rannon and naturally reached Wang Lin's ears. On a plain in the northern part of the planet, Wang Lin's figure materialized. He looked up at the sky and muttered, and quote, "One mid-stage ascendant and 2 early-stage ascendants. This Luo Tian starfield is quite interesting. Such a cultivation planet with abundant spiritual energy actually only has 3 factions, and each faction has only 1 ascendant cultivator. If this were in the Cultivation Alliance, people would have fought over it long ago. Either a second-step old monster would take it, or a rank 6 cultivation country would move in. There definitely wouldn't be only 3 ascendant cultivators." End quote. Wang Lin pondered for a moment, his aura continuously withdrawing. In the blink of an eye, there was no trace of his ascendant aura left. He appeared to have only a late-stage core formation cultivation. He was already at the early stage of ascendant, and with his strange origin soul, unless someone with a significantly higher cultivation inspected him closely, divine sense alone could not see through his secrets. End quote. Unless it's those old monsters who have taken the second step, if I hide here, I shouldn't be discovered, end quote, he reasoned. End quote. Even if the All-Seer and the others catch up, they wouldn't expect me to be hiding on such an ordinary cultivation planet, end quote. A golden light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes, and the spiritual energy in them gradually faded, becoming clear and distinct, with no more dazzling brilliance. End quote. From the expressions of those 4 little fellows, the Donglin planet faction is extremely strong. Until I have sufficient cultivation, I must not go there, end quote. A faint smile appeared on Wang Lin's lips, and the coldness around him dissipated. As he stepped forward, an ordinary flying sword flew out from his storage bag and landed beneath his feet. It turned into a streak of sword light as he flew away. As he traveled, his appearance slowly changed, and before long, he had completely transformed. Even if an acquaintance were here, they would never recognize him. Most cultivators were skilled in appearance-changing techniques, but in the eyes of high-level cultivators, these techniques were quite useless. One look with divine sense could reveal the truth. Some cultivators with special abilities could even see through to the original appearance at a glance. But Wang Lin was different. He was, and oppose, using a mere technique. He was using the celestial spiritual energy in his body. Very few people could see through his disguise. After flying for a short while, a city appeared ahead. The city was surrounded by massive green stones, looking very majestic. The words, end quote, Sun Family, end quote, were written above the city gate. A few miles outside the city, Wang Lin put away his flying sword, landed, and straightened his clothes. He dusted himself off and walked calmly toward the city gate. Perhaps because they saw he only had a late-stage core formation cultivation, the inspection at the city gate was not strict. The guard told Wang Lin that there were caves in the north of the city specifically for visiting cultivators. Wang Lin paid some spirit stones in exchange for a temporary residence token and entered the city controlled by the Sun family. Most of the people in the city were mortals, but cultivators could also be seen everywhere. Various shops lined both sides of the streets. There were shops selling items commonly used by cultivators, as well as stalls for mortals. Wang Lin walked down the street, his expression natural, as if he had always lived in this city. Since he planned to settle here, he first needed to find a place to stay. Stepping into North City, Wang Lin immediately felt the pervasive tranquility of the area and the remarkable richness of the local spiritual energy. As he looked around, he saw that North City was dotted with countless independent dwellings, each house protected by its own individual restriction. At the main entrance, a specific restriction had been placed to prevent mortals from wandering inside. Nearby, upon a 30-foot-high rock, 7 or 8 black tokens hung suspended. Beneath this rock sat a youth at the nascent soul stage, cross-legged with his eyes closed as he performed his breathing exercises. 2 dragons of qi emerged from his nostrils, swirling briefly before slowly dispersing into the air. Wang Lin stood outside the entrance, quietly observing. In his eyes, the restriction at this entrance was extremely simple. Even without breaking it, one could step directly inside without triggering any alarm. As he was observing the formation, the youth beneath the rock opened his eyes. He glanced at Wang Lin and said indifferently, and quote, "There are only 8 vacant cave dwellings left. Which one do you want?" End quote. Wang Lin maintained a gentle expression as he asked, and quote, "I wonder what the differences are." End quote. A look of impatience crossed the youth's face. End quote. Upper rooms are 1,000 low-grade spirit stones a year, lower rooms are 100. End quote. Wang Lin pondered the choice for a moment before taking out 100 spirit stones and placing them aside. Contempt immediately appeared in the youth and Oppo's eyes. With a dismissive flick of his sleeve, he collected the spirit stones, grabbed a token from the rock through the air with a practiced gesture, and threw it toward Wang Lin. End quote. West side, number 5. Go, end quote, the youth commanded. Having said his piece, he closed his eyes again to resume his breathing exercises. Wang Lin took the token and glanced down at it. He noted there were 2 restrictions placed upon the token, one of which was specifically for passing through the entrance. He withdrew his gaze and walked through the entrance with the token in hand. The moment he stepped inside, the youth beneath the rock opened his eyes once more. He muttered contemptuously to himself, and quote, "Another outsider cultivator. Likely wanting to use my son, family, and Oppo's spiritual energy to form a nascent soul. Humph. How could forming a nascent soul be so easy? This person and Oppo's talent is mediocre. Reaching the core formation stage was probably achieved only by piling up medicinal pills." End quote. Wang Lin heard the youth and Oppo's words clearly, but he merely took one look back and continued walking forward. A moment later, he arrived at the 5th house on the west side. Though the structure was simple, the house was surrounded by a dense aura of spiritual energy. Wang Lin used the token to open the door and looked around, finding himself quite satisfied with the accommodations. The main room contained only a bed and a meditation mat, while the side room housed an alchemy furnace and a semi-enclosed cultivation room. The overall style was one of elegant simplicity. Wang Lin walked outside the house and waved his right hand casually, slightly improving the house and Oppo's existing restrictions. This minor adjustment increased the power of the defensive barriers by more than tenfold. Then he sat cross-legged inside the room and took a deep breath of the rich spiritual energy. His expression relaxed as the energy entered his body, flowing slowly through his meridians. A moment later, Wang Lin exhaled a breath of turbid air, his eyes filled with a sudden surge of emotion. And quote, "It has been a long time since I and Oppo's meditated like this," end quote, he mused. And quote, "Unfortunately, no matter how rich the energy here is, it cannot increase my cultivation," end quote. The immortal jades in his storage bag had been almost entirely exhausted when he broke through to the ascendant stage. With so few remaining, they could not meet his daily cultivation needs. Furthermore, there were only 5 drops of celestial liquid left. He had previously consumed 4 drops along with the ascension fruit to create an endless flow of celestial power in his body, but he knew this was not a long-term solution. In a few years, once the medicinal power of the liquid settled, it would no longer be able to generate celestial power continuously. Moreover, while 1 drop could help an ascendant cultivator, the required celestial power doubled after the ascendant stage. Consuming the liquid again would not achieve the same effect as before. Swallowing it now would be a waste. Its best use was for healing or providing short-term boosts of celestial power. As such, obtaining immortal jades for his daily cultivation had become the primary task at hand. Outside, the sky grew dark and the room became pitch black. Wang Lin waved his right hand, and the candlestick in the room was instantly lit. A faint burning sound echoed as the candlelight filled the space. On the ceiling, a fist-sized green bead was embedded. As the candlelight rose, the drifting smoke was absorbed by the bead. Gradually, wisps of smoke swirled inside the bead, and it began to emit its own light. This phenomenon piqued Wang Lin and Oppo's interest, as he had never seen such an ingenious design. Looking up at the green bead, he saw the light upon it growing brighter and brighter. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, the bead shone brilliantly. A soft green light descended, extinguishing the candle, leaving the bead and Oppo's glow as the only light in the room. Wang Lin realized the bead contained 3 formations, creating a minor spell that absorbed smoke, converted it to heat, and condensed that heat into light. He noted that in terms of formation details, this all-heaven star region was quite a bit stronger than the Cultivation Alliance. A faint scent of sandalwood wafted from the bead, making him feel refreshed. The 3rd formation was responsible for this scent. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze, noting that the sandalwood was non-toxic and could actually speed up a cultivator and Oppo's meditation, making it an uncommon alchemy material. He sat cross-legged in the silent room and pondered for a long time. A thought of robbery rose in his mind, but he quickly dismissed it. Robbery was an inferior method. Moreover, the amount of immortal jades he required was not small, and ordinary cultivators simply did not possess them, unless they were at the ascendant stage or belonged to a great family of the All-Heaven Star region. If he resorted to robbery, he would be forced to leave planet Ranyun afterward to find another refuge, which he deemed inappropriate. A moment later, Wang Lin looked up, having made a decision. He tapped his storage bag, and several refining materials flew out. He exhaled a breath of nascent soul qi, wrapping the materials until they melted in an instant. Following the thoughts of his divine sense, the molten materials formed 3 items: a flying sword, a copper mirror, and a hairpin. Wang Lin formed a series of hand seals, imbuing intricate restrictions into the items. Gradually, a wave of pressure emanated from the 3 treasures. Because they were refined by his nascent soul, arcs of lightning occasionally flickered across their surfaces. After finishing the restrictions, Wang Lin thought back to the cultivator he had met on planet Suzaku, whose Tao concept was time, with his current cultivation and his own understanding of the Tao. His imitation of that concept was quite convincing. He beckoned with his right hand, and as the copper mirror descended, he merged the time concept into it. Next, Wang Lin recalled Lu Mei and Oppo's path of ruthless attachment, various illusory images flashed through his mind, finally turning into a beam of light that burst from his eyes and merged into the hairpin. As for the flying sword, Wang Lin did not imprint any concept. Instead, he struck a teleportation seal into the blade. Waving his right hand in the air, the 3 treasures turned into golden light and landed in his palm, slowly rotating around each other and emitting a dazzling brilliance. They looked extremely magnificent. Though the quality of these 3 treasures could not compare to true celestial treasures, not even reaching the low-grade level, they could be driven by celestial power and could trigger the concept abilities within them. Even without celestial power, cultivators below the soul transformation stage could drive them with their own spiritual energy, though the power would be greatly reduced. Pseudo-celestial treasures, Wang Lin said softly. These were the highest grade treasures he could currently refine. Wang Lin only had a rough understanding of artifact refining, mostly derived from the refining jade slips of the fire-burning country on planet Suzaku. Normally, it would be impossible for him to refine such treasures, but he possessed his own Tao concept and an ascendant cultivation. More importantly, his mastery of restrictions was exquisite, which allowed him to succeed. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the 3 treasures, not entirely satisfied. He pondered for a moment, picked up the copper mirror, and a light of restriction deduction flashed in his eyes. If I can give this treasure a heritage effect, its price will surely increase significantly, he thought. He closed his eyes, constantly deducing the process in his mind. Ordinary treasures only needed to be imprinted with divine sense for the user to control them, but once such a treasure was stolen, it became the opponent and Oppo's. Only heritage treasures required a heritage formula in addition to one and Oppo's divine sense. Outsiders could not control them even if they obtained them. Therefore, treasures with heritage effects were worth far more than those of the same rank. Wang Lin and Oppo's own soul flag and God-shocking chariot were such items. He meditated on the secrets of heritage, but the methods for refining true heritage treasures were held only by Grandmaster refiners. Such secrets were not easily shared and were rarely refined, making them extremely rare. Before long, Wang Lin opened his eyes, frowning slightly. And, quote, "Is the method of heritage something I cannot comprehend? Perhaps I and Oppo's am overthinking it," and, quote, he realized. And, quote, "I Don and Oppo's need to figure out a true heritage. I only need to add a special seal to this treasure and put the seal-breaking formula in a jade slip to be sold together. Though not a true heritage, it can achieve a similar effect," end quote. Wang Lin and Oppo's eyes flashed. The key to this, end quote, pseudo-heritage, end quote, lay in the strength of the seal. If he could refine a seal that no one could break, it would serve the same purpose as a heritage treasure. The light of restriction deduction flowed rapidly in his eyes as he formed a seal with his left hand and struck a restriction onto the copper mirror. Then, his left hand continuously struck multiple restrictions, which combined to form a complex rune flashing with black light. Pondering for a moment, Wang Lin looked at the candlestick in the room. With a point of his left hand, the candle lit again. As the smoke drifted up, just as it was about to be absorbed by the bead on the ceiling, Wang Lin reached out and grabbed the smoke, pressing it onto the restriction rune. The rune immediately melted strangely, turning into a wisp of black smoke that entered the copper mirror. Then he tapped his storage bag, took out a jade slip, and with a thought, recorded the seal-breaking formula inside. After putting away the mirror, Wang Lin did not set pseudo-heritages on the other two treasures. By now, the sky outside was brightening. Wang Lin closed his eyes and meditated to focus his mind. As the morning sun covered the earth, dispelling the darkness, Wang Lin opened his eyes, stood up, and pushed the door open. The sunlight fell upon him, bringing a warm feeling to his soul. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth grew richer at this moment, invigorating his spirit and filling his heart with a sense of peace. Wang Lin moved slightly and walked forward. As he passed the entrance, the nascent soul youth beneath the rock was still meditating, absorbing the essence of heaven and earth. Only when Wang Lin and Oppo's figure had vanished in the distance did the youth open his eyes, contempt flashing in them once more. And, quote, "Those outsider cultivators," and, quote, the youth sneered, and, quote, "which one of them doesn't," and Oppo's spend all day meditating to absorb as much spiritual energy as possible? It and Oppo's one thing for this man and Oppo's talent to be mediocre, but he actually gave up the moment when spiritual energy is richest at dawn. How pathetic. I predict he will never be able to form a nascent soul in this life, end quote. Withdrawing his gaze, the youth closed his eyes once more to sink into meditation. His absorption of spiritual energy was even more aggressive than before, the speed accelerating as if he were deliberately snatching the ambient energy away from Wang Lin. Wang Lin, however, was preoccupied with his own designs. Upon his arrival the previous day, he had noted several free markets situated in the western district of the city. While many cultivators gathered there to trade magical treasures and raw materials, he knew in his heart that such venues rarely attracted those at the soul transformation stage or above. It was hardly the appropriate place to dispose of pseudo-celestial treasures. After a brief moment of hesitation, Wang Lin turned his attention toward the youth sitting beneath the mountain rocks and walked over. And, quote, "Fellow Taoist," and, quote, Wang Lin began, his expression gentle as he cupped his fists in a polite greeting. And, quote, "Do you know where in this city one might go to exchange high-grade magical treasures?" And, quote. The youth opened his eyes. His face betrayed not only contempt, but a sharp hint of impatience. End quote. Baohe Tower in the east of the city, end quote. He replied coldly. Having spoken, he pointedly ignored Wang Lin. Wang Lin offered a slight, knowing smile and turned to leave. Behind him, the youth let out a derisive sneer. End quote. A mere core formation cultivator actually dares to dream of exchanging high-grade treasures, end quote. The youth muttered to himself before closing his eyes to resume his meditation. End quote. That Baohe Tower, he probably isn and oppos, t even qualified to step over the threshold, end quote. Leaving the northern district, Wang Lin walked at an unhurried pace toward the east. In this part of the city, mortals were few. The crowds consisted almost entirely of cultivators. The architecture here was significantly more grand, with ornate buildings and structures of carved jade lining both sides of the thoroughfare. Outside certain establishments, giant raw spirit stones as tall as a man were displayed. These stones remained in their natural, unrefined state, emitting a dense and palpable spiritual aura. Interest flickered in Wang Lin's eyes. Such displays were a blunt demonstration of a shop's underlying strength. To excavate such massive raw spirit stones from a spirit vein was a feat beyond the capabilities of ordinary cultivators. The sheer size of these stones served as a barometer for a shop and oppo's power. Outside some storefronts, the stones stood 20 feet high like miniature mountains, inspiring awe in all who passed. Outside one particular shop, Wang Lin noticed that they had even placed top-grade raw spirit stones on display. This discovery piqued his interest. He took a closer look. The shop was not overly large, standing only 2 stories high. Though it lacked an overwhelming sense of grandeur, it possessed an air of extreme elegance. Upon the plaque, the words, end quote, Green Bamboo Pavilion, end quote, were written in a flamboyant, sweeping style. Wang Lin did not enter immediately. Instead, he withdrew his gaze and continued further down the street. At the far end of the eastern district, a massive, naturally formed pavilion stood tall against the sky. Outside this structure, 8 top-grade raw spirit stones, each 30 feet in height, were arranged in a specific formation that radiated a powerful spiritual pressure. This pavilion seemed to blend seamlessly into its surroundings. At a glance, it possessed a somewhat ethereal, otherworldly quality. Carved into a long spirit stone above the entrance were 3 large characters, end quote, Baohe Tower, end quote. A faint, oppressive pressure permeated the air, and Wang Lin could sense a hidden layer of protection within the tower designed to prevent any divine sense from probing the interior. Wang Lin did not attempt to force a probe, as he found himself lacking any real interest in the place. He stepped forward to enter, but his path was immediately blocked by a middle-aged man. The man sized Wang Lin up with a flat, discerning look. End quote. Does fellow Taoist not know the rules of our Baohe Tower? End quote. End quote. I do not, end quote. Wang Lin responded calmly, his expression remaining unchanged. End quote. What are the rules? End quote. The middle-aged man was secretly surprised to see that Wang Lin remained perfectly steady under the weight of the tower's formation pressure. He had encountered countless cultivators in his time, and aside from a few old monsters with profound cultivation, few could remain so composed. End quote. Baohe Tower has 2 end oppos, no entry end oppos, rules, and 1 end oppos, no exit end oppos, rule, end quote, the man explained. End quote. First, those with cultivation below the nascent soul stage may not enter. Second, those without 100,000 top-grade spirit stones may not enter. Finally, those who enter without completing a successful trade may not exit. End quote. Wang Lin frowned slightly. Seeing this, the middle-aged man felt he understood the situation. End quote. Does fellow Taoist possess 100,000 top-grade spirit stones? End quote. Wang Lin did not have many spirit stones in his storage bag. Since reaching the soul transformation stage, he primarily utilized celestial jade. The middle-aged man smiled thinly. End quote. Fellow Taoist, you do not meet the requirements. You cannot enter. Even if you were to force your way in, you likely would and oppose be able to meet the condition for leaving. Please go back, end quote. And quote, this treasure, would you accept it, end quote, Wang Lin asked, his gaze, even without using his divine sense to verify, the man could tell it was a low-quality item. It couldn't and oppose even be considered a low-grade magical treasure. Having been responsible for vetting cultivators at Baohe Tower for years, the man's eyesight was excellent. He had seen far too many low-level cultivators like Wang Lin who believed they had stumbled upon a great treasure and came to the tower hoping for a fortune. In his view, Wang Lin was just another dreamer. The sword might have some minor, negligible abilities, but he wasn't and oppose interested in the slightest. He smiled and shook his head. And quote, we do not accept it. Please go back, end quote. Wang Lin gave the man a cold, piercing look and turned to leave. As he walked away from Baohe Tower, that frigid glance fell upon the man, whose name was Lu Feng. It felt as though a bucket of ice water had been poured over Lu Feng's head. His entire body shuddered. That gaze was like 10,000-year-old ice, causing his nascent soul to seize for a moment, nearly teetering on the verge of collapse. Lu Feng retreated several steps in shock, his face turning deathly pale. He stared blankly at Wang Lin's receding back, a vague feeling taking root in his heart that the flying sword might not have been as simple as it appeared. At that moment, a raspy, aged voice drifted from within the tower. End quote, Lu Feng, what happened, end quote. Lu Feng quickly turned and bowed deeply. End quote, elder son, a cultivator just came here seeking to sell a treasure, end quote. A hunchbacked old man walked out slowly. He was ancient, his face etched with the deep marks of time and his eyes dim and lifeless. End quote, what treasure, end quote, he asked flatly. End quote, it was a flying sword, end quote, Lu Feng replied respectfully. End quote, to me, it looked very ordinary. It might have possessed some minor abilities, but it did not meet Baohe Tower's trading regulations, end quote. He knew that Elder Sun had once been a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator who had fallen to the early stage due to a grievous injury. His status within the tower remained transcendent. Elder Sun looked toward Wang Lin's disappearing figure, a hint of doubt flickering in his cloudy eyes. Then, he shook his head and turned back into the tower. End quote, that back looks a bit familiar, end quote. Wang Lin left the vicinity of Baohe Tower and walked straight to the elegant green bamboo pavilion. Stepping inside, he saw various magical treasures and medicinal pills neatly arranged in wooden grids along the walls. A youth at the early stage of soul transformation was sitting there, reading a book. Seeing a customer enter, the youth stood and offered a smile. End quote, our shop is small, but our stock is quite complete. I wonder what fellow Taoist is looking for, end quote. Wang Lin smiled slightly, produced the flying sword, and asked, end quote, would you accept this sword, end quote. The youth glanced at the weapon, his brow furrowing. He said with a wry smile, end quote, fellow Taoist, may I examine this sword closely, end quote. Wang Lin nodded and pushed the sword across the counter. The youth swept it with his divine sense, and suddenly his eyes widened. He looked at Wang Lin in sheer shock. End quote, fellow Taoist, the abilities within this flying sword, end quote. End quote, you will know once you test it, end quote, Wang Lin replied. The youth circulated his spiritual power into the blade. In an instant, the sword erupted with a dense, sharp sword chi. He even experienced the sudden, startling illusion of being in perfect synchronization with the weapon. He controlled the sword, sending it to pierce through the top-grade raw spirit stone outside. His eyes were full of admiration, yet a hint of regret remained. End quote, such compatibility, it could be called a mid-grade spirit treasure, and its power is comparable to the high-grade. Unfortunately, the speed is lacking, end quote. However, the moment he activated the sword's special ability, the blade instantly teleported 10 yards away. He was struck with immediate shock. End quote, teleportation. Fellow Taoist, our shop will take this sword. Is 100,000 top-grade spirit stones sufficient? End quote, the youth asked urgently. Wang Lin frowned slightly. The youth's cultivation was too low. He had only managed to draw out 1/10 of the sword's true potential. Seeing the frown, the youth gritted his teeth and added, and quote, 150,000 top-grade spirit stones, end quote. And quote, do you have a soul transformation cultivator here, end quote, Wang Lin asked. Though the youth felt a flash of displeasure, he complied and sent a message to invite a family elder. A moment later, an old man dressed in green stepped into the pavilion, his gaze immediately locking onto the flying sword. The youth, Sun Mo, quickly bowed. And quote, Junior greets the elder, end quote. The old man glanced at Wang Lin, took the sword, and probed it with his divine sense. His originally calm face was instantly replaced by a mask of shock. He flicked the blade with his left hand, and the resulting hum was clear and pleasant. Then, with a wave of his right hand, the sword teleported 1,000 miles away and returned in the blink of an eye, now surrounded by a crackling celestial aura and arcs of lightning. The old man reached out to touch it, and the lightning emitted a soft and quote, pop, and quote. His face turned pale, and he was forced to retreat several steps. Once he recovered, his eyes were filled with a wild, frantic joy. Sun Mo stood by, utterly dumbfounded. And quote, a celestial treasure. This is a celestial treasure, end quote. And quote, it is not a celestial treasure, it is a pseudo-celestial treasure, end quote, the old man corrected, his eyes fixed on Wang Lin. And quote, it possesses the great teleportation technique, and even more rare is that strange lightning. Its value is extraordinary. Are you certain you wish to sell it? End quote. And quote, 3,000 celestial jades, end quote. Wang Lin stated his price directly. The old man's eyes brightened. Without a single word of protest, he produced a pile of celestial jades. Wang Lin accepted them. The old man then asked urgently, end quote, do you have any other pseudo-celestial treasures? End quote. Wang Lin reached into his bag, took out a copper mirror, and threw it over. The old man took one look, and his face changed drastically. He lost his voice, exclaiming, end quote, an inheritance pseudo-celestial treasure, end quote. Wang Lin's expression remained composed. Seeing the greed that flashed briefly in the old man's eyes, he understood the situation perfectly. End quote. How many celestial jades for this? End quote. The old man asked. End quote. 50,000, end quote. Wang Lin said flatly. The old man hesitated for a moment, but he ultimately could not bear to let such a treasure go. He produced the celestial jades he had painstakingly accumulated over nearly 100 years and handed them to Wang Lin. Wang Lin then tossed him a jade slip containing the method for breaking the mirror and Oppo's S restriction. After checking it, the joy in the old man's eyes intensified. He asked once more if there were other pseudo-celestial treasures. Wang Lin took out a hairpin. The old man looked at it, showed a flicker of disappointment, and then turned to leave. Wang Lin purchased some refining materials and exited the green bamboo pavilion. He had not walked far when he noticed a divine sense constantly locked onto his position. And quote, since you seek death, I shall grant you the opportunity, end quote, he thought. Wang Lin changed his direction and left the city. He produced an ordinary flying sword and took to the air, deliberately slowing his pace to maintain the appearance of a core formation cultivator. After flying several thousand miles, a large patch of mist suddenly materialized ahead. It condensed into a giant hand and lunged to grab him. The mockery in Wang Lin's eyes deepened. With a casual wave of his right hand, a massive wave of celestial power swept out. The giant hand dissipated instantly, and a muffled groan echoed from within the black mist. End quote. You are not a core formation cultivator, end quote. The black mist cleared, revealing a thin, middle-aged man who fled in terror, spitting blood. An escape technique flickered across his body. Wang Lin followed him slowly, always maintaining a set distance. The man was terrified, filled with regret. He had come to intercept Wang Lin on Elder Sun's orders. Using every ounce of his strength, the man rushed back into Sun Family City and headed straight for the Sun Family Mansion. He fainted the moment he crossed the threshold of the gate. Several figures rushed out from the mansion, and one of them sent a flying sword whistling straight at Wang Lin. Wang Lin flicked his sleeve. A fierce wind coalesced into a storm, sweeping away every Sun family member within 100. And quote, "Just as I left the green bamboo pavilion, I was intercepted by this person. After he was defeated, he fled here." End quote. Elder Sun snorted, but the red-faced old man sneered. End quote, "Absurd. Today we shall keep you here until your family elders come to negotiate your release." End quote. A cold light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He pressed his right hand down, and a massive, suffocating pressure instantly enveloped the entire Sun family mansion. The faces of every Sun family member changed drastically. The three old men stared with wide eyes, their hearts filled with horror. This pressure far exceeded anything at the soul transformation stage. End quote. "Is it absurd?" End quote. Wang Lin's voice was bone-chillingly cold. End quote. "Fellow Taoist, please calm your anger." End quote. A black-clothed old man walked out slowly. His cultivation had reached the peak of soul transformation, and he carried the lingering divine sense of an ascendant cultivator. Under his presence, the pressure dissipated slightly. End quote. "This matter was indeed my Sun family's fault. We have offended you." End quote. The black-clothed old man said in a deep voice. End quote. 200,000 celestial jades, and this matter is settled. End quote. Wang Lin said, his tone brooking no argument. The black-clothed old man hesitated for a moment before nodding. 200,000 celestial jades was a massive sum. Since this was only a branch of the Sun family, he requested that Wang Lin wait for 3 days to gather the funds. Wang Lin glanced at the ascendant divine sense clinging to the man and turned to leave. Not until Wang Lin's figure had completely disappeared did the black-clothed old man breathe a sigh of relief. The ascendant divine sense on him also dissipated. He turned and glared fiercely at Elder Sun, barking an order. End quote. "The family ancestor has commanded, comply with all his demands and gather the 200,000 celestial jades. Enforce a gag order. No one is allowed to disturb that fellow Taoist." End quote. Deep beneath the ocean, a long-haired man opened his eyes. He looked toward the surface, lost in thought. End quote. Could this person be a new ascendant cultivator who has arrived on planet Ranyun? He actually makes me feel a sense of trembling. He must not be provoked. Perhaps this is an opportunity for the Sun family. End quote. What Wang Lin desired was precisely this, a low-profile situation where no one dared to provoke him. His pace was light as he returned to his residence in the north of the city. The youth under the mountain rocks was still sitting in meditation. Seeing Wang Lin return, the youth opened his eyes and cleared his throat. End quote. "Stop right there." End quote. He scolded Wang Lin. End quote. "In cultivation, diligence is most important. Your talent is poor, so you should focus even more on your breathing exercises rather than wandering outside. Otherwise, you will never have the chance to reach the nascent soul stage in this life." End quote. Wang Lin was taken aback, then nodded with a wry smile. The youth's tone softened slightly. End quote. "Poor talent is not scary. What is scary is being lax. Cultivation is an act against the heavens. Neither mind nor body can be slack. If you have questions about cultivation, you can come ask me. Go on in." End quote. Wang Lin felt a sudden surge of emotion. He had cultivated for many years, and no one had ever scolded him so sincerely. As he entered the doorway, he took a backward glance. He realized that this youth was actually a woman disguised as a man, though he did not expose her secret. Returning to his room, Wang Lin sat cross-legged. He took out 1,000 pieces of celestial jade and arranged them around him. Performing a hand seal to gather the celestial aura, he began his breathing exercises. 3 days later, the celestial jades turned to dust. Wang Lin opened his eyes, his brow furrowed. The celestial jade was still insufficient for the needs of an ascendant cultivator. The amount required was simply too massive. Even with the 200,000 from the Sun family, it would be difficult to reach the mid-stage. He surmised that there might be a way to replace celestial jade in the second step of cultivation. At this time, the Sun family's black-clothed old man, Sun Qiming, appeared respectfully outside the room. Wang Lin opened the restriction. Sun Qiming, hiding his cultivation, walked in and bowed. And quote, Junior Sun Qiming is the person in charge of the Sun family in this city. May I ask for senior's name? And quote. Su Mu and quote. Wang Lin replied flatly. Sun Qiming produced a storage bag. And quote, Senior Su, the 200,000 celestial jades have been delivered. Please check them. Junior has already ordered the news of our encounter to be suppressed. If Senior wishes to go into seclusion, there are better places in this city, and quote. No need. You may leave, and quote, Wang Lin said. Sun Qiming hesitated for a moment before adding, and quote, Senior, in 7 days, the Ran family's Baohe Tower will hold an auction. Among the items is an 8th-grade god-bestowing pill, and quote. Wang Lin's cold gaze swept over Sun Qiming, who immediately fell silent, his heart trembling. He was merely following the main family's orders to test if Wang Lin would be interested. A moment later, Wang Lin spoke. And quote, Bring it here, and quote. Sun Qiming quickly produced an auction token, laid it down, and hurriedly withdrew. Just as he stepped out of the room, he heard Wang Lin's cold warning, and quote, There will not be a second time, and quote. Sun Qiming's face turned pale. He bowed deeply and left in a hurry, understanding that his intentions had long been seen through. Wang Lin held the token and fell into thought. He knew the grades of pills. Although an 8th-grade god-bestowing pill was not a true celestial pill, it would still be useful to him in his current state. And quote, The ascendant cultivator behind the Sun family cannot see through my cultivation, so they used the pill to test me, and quote. Wang Lin put away the token and dismissed the matter from his mind. He began calculating how to obtain more celestial jade to increase his cultivation as quickly as possible so that he might finally return to the Alliance star system.